Hello and welcome back to Rei-Jin-G-Lu-P. So last time we stumbled upon a rock-worshipping village and drank with the girl until she puked. Now we continue.
まあ知恵ねえだしな。雑把だよな。
事情も事情だし、年寄りたちも納得するかな。ちなみに会ったのってどこです？
それはね。
下の方の河原だよ。
Okay, so I'm guessing she's not allowed to be that far out for some reason. Maybe she's trying to escape?
それはちょっと。
大騒ぎだ。2日連続で2人もだなんて。
Huh?
もしかしてまずいこと言った？
So two people have been to the river in 2 days?
まあいずれバレることよ。さっきあれだけ大騒ぎしちゃったから休みず中にし。
君、2日連続で。
触らないで。汚い。
You also drank a lot, so you probably really needed that bath.
君、何が騒ぎになるの？
タエバあたりが拒否ってなる。
詳しい話を聞かせてくれない？
Wait, what? Taiba. Alright, we don't know what that is, I don't think.
ちょっと説明は難しいんですけど、まあここは田舎なんで。
Yeah, I think this is a little bit different than just random countryside.
どうすればいいかな？
まあちえみがなんとかしましょう。この乗るっきゃなくないもっち。
まあちょっと時間ずらした方がいいよね。揉めそうだし。
さすがやすくん、察しがいいぞ。ごめん。
うん。
もう知恵ね、子供扱いはやめてよ。そうだ、うんこしてやるぞ。
ほらほら行くぞ、モッチーにはるちゃん。彼らがこの。
そういうこと。学生寮だからね、ここ。ちなみに春明さん、他の人。
あ、うん。
Uh,
一応それ警戒してた
about
か
the
ら。
woman.
ならよかった。
あ、
の朝食は今から食べてください。食堂へは一応面通しをしに行くの。
誰と？
よそ者が皿長からやってきたってことに文句を言いそうな人たち。
お世話になり。
いいってことです。その代わり朝のことは秘密。
What happened this morning?
そりゃもちろん。
You getting
ところで
sick?
皿長って何？あの河原？
そう、皿長の瀬っていう川だけど、あの辺まとめて皿長って呼ぶの。ちょっと曰くのある場所でね。
曰く。
あの川は汚れていて死人が帰ってくるみたいな伝説がね。
他にもその手のルールというか。
たくさんあります。なので基本ちえみちゃんにお任せを。
ちなみに身の危険とかは？
ないない。でもいろいろ不愉快な。
そのための根回しに。
そうそう。
The settlement I'd strayed to was a weird place, but at least the guide was reliable. She wanted me to leave ASAP, huh? That was depressing. Chiemi gave me some cup ramen for breakfast. She boiled the water in a small electric kettle. The girl herself was too hungover to eat anything. I did take the opportunity to pay her back for last night's drinks in person, though. Then we made our way to the dining hall.
この岩って何なの？
一応。
よそでは見たことないよ。
ああ、言われたらそうかも。
She led me along a narrower path than I'd followed earlier. It didn't seem like any cars used this one. It was very farmy, I guess. The area was also littered with those boulders. Some were cracked, broken, or half buried in the fields. They were clearly religious symbols, but it didn't look like they were that important these days. Or were they? Not that I knew I was safe. Now that I knew I was safe, I once again became curious about this place.
人だ
He was working in the field.
匠兄ちゃんだ。おはよ
Takumi. Chiemi waved her hand. The man responded, but then froze mid-wave.
う。じゃあ行きましょう。
Chiemi Takumi.
いいの？多分あの人僕の存在に驚いたん。
大丈夫。どうせ後で食堂に来るから説明はその時にするってことで。
Well, if she says so. As an outsider, I had no choice but to rely on her. This is the part of the village I saw this morning, where the buildings were more densely packed. I didn't notice it back then, but it was actually kind of weird. What? That's all you talked about last time. Basically, it felt desolate. The wooden bungalows, in particular, were more or less overgrown, buried in tall grass and other greenery. If this was all I saw of the village and someone told me it was abandoned, I'd easily have believed them. However, two of the buildings stood out. How did you not notice that before? That's very attention-grabbing. It's a huge shrine. There was a hall right behind the hill. It wasn't that big, but it looked grand and well-maintained. The other building was obviously the dining hall. It looked a bit dirty, but I could tell there were people inside. From what I could tell, it was the most lively place in this poor excuse for a community. Wow. Suddenly, the three students walked out chatting about something.
あ、知恵ねと久石さん。
再度おはよう。ちょっとモッチーがバカなことばっか言って。
そうだ、僕が悪だ。味噌汁をよこせ。
まあ早足なら間に合うでしょう。みんなしっかり勉強しといで。
みんな高校生なんだ。
そう。山を
What? That one kid's like 5.
ところに分校があるんだ。私も3年前まで通ってたな。
やたら不便だね。
それでもみんなあの寮に住める分優遇されてるんだけど。さあ。
And she's in her 20s, right? That's what she said, I think? Or wait, so we're 24. I think she said she was like 22? Am I imagining this? I thought she said an age at some point. Something like that. Yeah, 21. She was in college. That's right. I think it was 21 or 22. But...
そうしましょう。
気合入んない。
We laughed a little and passed the curtain.
いらっしゃい。あら。
The faces are kind of interesting in this game. They're very different from normal, like anime and VNs. The inside was as aged to the outside, but it looked well maintained.
ちえみちゃん、お客さん？
The hostess-looking lady asked. Though somewhat aged and fatigued, she was definitely beautiful. There were two others beside her. Alright, I think she's the one that had the mask over her face earlier. Maybe. One was a lady in her 70s or 80s. Yeah, she was probably the one I saw this morning. The silhouette matched. He's really interesting looking. The other was a man who seemed a bit younger than her, probably in his late 60s. Though they were just sitting there was a menacing aura about him. About them. Really? You think that this guy's menacing? What gives you that impression?
うん。紹介するね。久石春明さん。昨日の晩、皿長で迷ってたのをちえみが保護しました。
The lady gasped, while the two elders rose to their feet with alarm. The tension that was already there the moment I walked in reached its peak. So are they worried about me being a werewolf? Are they worried about me finding out the secrets of the village? Are they worried because, like, it's not allowed for outsiders to come in? What's a coincidence? Oh, that's what they meant by 2 in 2 days, huh? So is it the girl Torol-chan that we saw through the leaves? Is she the other one? After saying all that, Chiemi fell silent. The ball was in their court now. So, I guess maybe she was found in the same location and that's why they reacted like that? And maybe she's caused some kind of trouble?
まあそれは大変。
The lady voiced a harmless opinion, careful not to upset the old people. It was pretty clear who was in charge. They were elders in more ways than one.
ちいちゃんはなんで夜に皿長な
虫の知らせかな。
そいじゃやっぱり読み人じゃないんかね
Yambi Bito.
やめ、タイバ
So that's Teiba. The conversation was pretty clear something happened before I arrived. It's probably similar to what happened with me. She mentioned some little girl. Perhaps it was a child who wandered in here like I did? According to Chiemi, the Saranaga Rapids were a place of significance around here. It was a place from which dead people come to life or whatever. Is this... well, alright. I was gonna say, is this supernatural? And then I remember there's werewolves in the story, so I guess it is. And also time loops. So... maybe we are dead. I mean, the beginning was very nightmarish. You know, it could also be like a representation of like purgatory or something like that. And so like we're just wandering around. Actually, you think of that analogy too, like a dead coming back to life, right? It's kind of like wandering around in the wilderness, and then all of a sudden, boom, you're here. That could definitely be the case. Oh, so this Tay, yeah, I think it'll be Tay, must be the E lady the boy mentioned, and the Nyomabito must be a term for the dead who came from there. Apparently, the primary goal here was convincing these elders to approve helping me.
ー。おい、どっから来た？
The old man's voice put my derailed mind back on track.
あ、はい、東京です。
いくつじゃ？
年は24。
地位より上じゃが。
He chuckled. I immediately realized he was taking a jab at me for hiding behind a younger girl.
申し遅れました。房石春明です。どうやら僕はここでは異分、それで芹沢さんに紹介をお願いしたんですが、僕から改めて
Yeah, I
お
think
願い
that's
し
totally
ます。
fair.
すぐ出て行きますから。それまでは僕の存在をそれと僕を助け、
春明さん。
おそらく芹沢さんはここの常識を外れたところで、
まあ
これでも大人です。自分のせいですので、どうか。
ちゃんとしとる、タイバ
あたしゃスカンはねそんなに髪茶色に染めてから
Shit, I forgot I didn't look very presentable to more traditionalist people. So is his hair dyed?
ー。よそは皆こうよ。はよう返せばええ。
ほいじゃ好きにしなさいね
I guess I got their half-hearted approval?
春秋。春か。うちの孫も春じゃ。紛らわしい。
Okay, so that girl is your granddaughter. You're talking about my fashion sense when she's your granddaughter? I don't know about that.
あ、もしかして
そう、春ちゃんのおじいさんの牧島勘三さんよ。
Kanzo Makishima.
どうも。
I don't know what else to say. Haruchin and I weren't on the best of terms so far. Anyway, it seems like we were past the difficult part.
皿長に突っ込んだか。
いえ、コンビニで道を聞いた後、脇道。
で、皿長登ったか。なぜ途中で引き返さねえ。
Just hit me that I had no idea how much time passed between the crash and my meeting with Chiemi.
わしと匠で見てきちゃった。
匠は他を見よるわよ
タイバー、追い出す。
カンちゃんはいつも
ばあちゃん、おやさん、どうした？
We're joined by a new inhabitant.
ちえみ、こいつは？
あ、匠兄ちゃん。
Oh, so he was the one we saw in the field. Did we? I don't remember that. Wow, he sure looked big from up close. All that field work was good for his muscles, clearly, and from what I could tell, he was in his 30s. As Chiemi introduced me and told him of my situation, I found out his name. Takumi Muro.
ああ、
ムーロ
こいつは災難だったな。ああ、おや
わしとお前。
だな。 ばあちゃん、こいつ助けっからちょっと待っててな。もう農薬は巻き終わってるから。
Let's see what I got here. Yeah, I think I'm a bit spoiled. I was playing a game recently that had such a nice list of all the characters and their names. I don't think this one's gonna have that. Yeah, this is just time. Ah, no. I don't think they're gonna hide it in here. Okay. Well, damn. It'd be nice if we had a character list.
匠は優しい。
こんな
そうね。お兄ちゃんや。
え、僕
ここは休みって言うてね。あんまりええ場所じゃないんよ。
Saying your own town isn't a good place? It was the place that wasn't good, not my presence here?
あたしらもよそのもんが苦手だし。じゃから。
話はついた感じだ。
So are these people like cursed and like forced to stay here maybe?
ありがとう匠兄ちゃん
I was beginning to understand how things worked here. Although Kanzo Makishima's voice was the most powerful here, it was also important to get Tai-san's approval. Kanzo-san was probably in charge of tackling the settlement's practical problems, while Tai-san provided spiritual and moral direction. And when it was time to be civilized, Takumi came and convinced Tai-san, acting as an intermediary. It looked like Takumi-san himself understood such subtleties, and Chiemi seemed to rely on this side of him.
はいここらで一つどうぞ
The lady brought some tea to the old folk. Perfect timing.
おお、香織さん。俺には飯頼むぜ。
So that was her name. What was it?
朝早くからお疲れ様でした
なーに。安水とばあちゃんと香織。
Those two sure seemed to get along. They looked about the same age too.
さあお客さんもご
He looks like
飯
twice as tall as her though.
あ、
それじゃあお茶をどうぞ
あ
ごめんなさいちょっと急ぎで電話
それはいいけ
ありがとうでも本当緊急だから行こう春明さん
She's trying to save us from the tea. I mean, she doesn't seem suspicious, but
うん
didn't look like I could say no. We went up the nearby stairs to what seemed like a living space. At the end of the creaky hallway, there was a black rotary phone. A rarity in this day and age.
これがここ安水唯一の電話だから
Seriously?
ちなみに携帯電話はどのキャリアも通じませんの
そうなのか
Figures.
でも
ロードサービスとか保険とかあと必要なら
Exactly.
家族にも連絡
Oh, that made sense. Hell, I should have been the one to say that.
さっきも言ったけどできるだけここを早く出られた方がいいか
よそ者が歓迎
そういうこと
それ以上のせ
ねただ好奇心も
バレたか
Yeah.
バレますともでも
どうせすぐに別れるん
その通り
なんだか寂しいな
おちえみちゃんのメアド御書も
くれるならぜひ
やったこれで男友達53人目
テンションガタ落ちですわ
We still went on to exchange our info. I can only hope that being number 53 wasn't as big of a problem as it sounded. So, I mean, what are you even going to exchange? You're going to exchange the number to the rotary phone?
それはともかく個人的興味で言えば何が問題になっててどんな
I mean, if there's no phone service, there's probably no internet. There's no... Just like no way to contact her.
おすすめしないな
なぜか
私が不愉快
あんまり故郷
うん正直
ここの人とは仲良さそうに見えるけど
So why are you here? Like, because she goes to college away from here, right? Why would you come back here? I mean, I understand you have family here, but it sounds like the problems are really serious, considering the genre of the game. So it's like, maybe she wants to save people here?
ああ、それは見えるだけですね。それにパッと見はわからないいろんなしがらみもあるし。まあ。
With that, I decided to stop crying about this place any further. I'd back away before she came to hate me.
あ、でも
いい度胸。
室匠さんのこと好き。
え？私が？
I think that maybe it's her older brother?
うん。
さすがにそれはないな。匠兄ちゃんかっこいいけど、それに匠兄ちゃんは
やっぱそうなんだ。
うん。香織さん未亡人だから。
Well, that seems complicated. That aside, Chiemi's been acting a bit strange. Why did she drag me away from the tea? Yeah. It seems so awkward, too. Assuming she hadn't been jealous of Kaori-san and simply didn't want to hear her charm me, it would mean that she just hadn't want me to drink the tea. Why? Yeah, that's exactly the impression I got. Also, why'd she feed me cup ramen if I could have just gotten food at the dining hall? Looking too deep into things was part of my nature. The things were never as bad as I assumed. It's probably worse in this case. So you can't... The food and the drink, you can't trust it? I went in to call my insurance company, where I found out something. Apparently this village was hundreds of kilometers away from the nearest service station, meaning I was ineligible for the normal service and had to pay extra. And extra was no small amount, too. It actually went over 100,000 yen. All this... Also, I could have avoided this if I'd taken a more expensive plan. This is all my own fault for not taking the bike salesman advice. Shit. I said I would consider it and hung up. Then I went back to the dining hall.
あれ、おじいさんたちは
The customers had changed completely. Tai-san, Kanso-san, and Takumi were gone now. They were replaced by a character of a juvenile delinquent. He shouted at me. He seemed like he was trying too hard. He had slammed his bowl and chopsticks on the table and stood up to intimidate me.
夫妻師春明です。
なめてんのか。
まあ義継、初対面の方になんて口の利きか。
うるせえババ。おいチェネ、そいつ誰だよ。
バイクで事故った旅行者の春明さん。
Boy, that introduction was half-assed. Yeah, this guy doesn't seem very likable.
改めてこちら織部香織さんと次男の義継くん、安永くんが長男ね。
安永くんって朝の彼？
そう、よく見たら似てるでしょ。
Who? Oh, I'm not sure who that is, but I'll figure it out. The Ori Bees. What an unpredictable family.
兄貴のこと言ってんじゃねえよ。うぜんだよ。うっせえ。
Wow, this guy.
そう言われて
Can
も
I vote to kill him first?
モテちゃうからな、ちえ姉ちゃんは。
And from what I've seen, that confidence was well justified.
とっとと町へ戻っちまえ。バカ。
どうしよう春明さん。
なんとちえみちゃんはバカだったのか。よーし、バカバカ。
What? Seems like a weird reaction.
ひどい。
言ってやろうぜ、義継くん。バカバカ。
なんなんだよてめえ。チェネバカにしてんじゃねえよ。
You're pretty conflicted, aren't you?
ごめんちえみちゃん。
おお、見事な連続手のひら返し。
ちえみちゃんには負けないぜ。
付き合ってんのかてめえら。
Boy, did I wish. Okay, so he really does have it for her.
いい加減になさい義継。とうに遅刻です。
行かねえよ。
Mumbling something, the kid walked out of the dining hall, leaving his half-full bowl behind.
ごめんなさいね。
根は素直ないい子なんですけどね。
That attitude, though. Yeah, I could actually see that somewhat.
あ、ところでまずい。
うん、場所は分かってるみたい。
いや、一応ニュートラルにすれば押せるけどさ。 あとさすがに手伝うべきでしょ
その程度。
う。なんで？
取りも直さず春明さんがよそ者だからです。長時間一緒に歩くのは
With
ち
who?
ょっとおすすめできない。
Oh man, this is where my name starts hurting me. I'm not very good with names. It takes a while for me to learn them.
問題になりそう。
そりゃ二人とも大人だから。で、春明さんは平気かもだけど、一緒にいると向こうがストレス溜めるかもしれない。
まあそうね。
そうなん。
ええ、安水には安水の
I
や
can
り
somewhat
方が
understand
ある。
that. A
男の
visitor
人た
should
ち
behave
は
like one.
それにこ
Doing
だわる
anything more would be uncalled for. It was an old-fashioned way of thinking, but this was an old-fashioned kind of place for sure.
じゃあ
うちに戻って待ちましょう。
I expected as much, but it still made me curious. Normally you expect we sit around and drink some tea right here, so why didn't we? As we waited, Chiemi, casually but uncomfortably, told me several things. First, I found out that people here in Yasumizo were a bit on edge right now. The reason for that was the fact that, excluding me, they had 3 whole outsiders here. 3. I'd assumed this myself from what I'd seen so far, but apparently yesterday morning a little girl was found staying around the Saranaga Rapids. They couldn't even find out her name, let alone who her parents were, so they didn't know how to handle her. For now, one of the inhabitants was looking after her. Like I'd been told, the more superstitious inhabitants, Taysan mostly, saw her as a bad omen. I suggested leaving her to the police, but Chiemi didn't seem to think that was a good idea. It barely made sense to me. But if I were to believe her, things around here were such that not even the cops could do anything. And apparently the remaining 2 outsiders were a pair of journalists gathering info for a magazine article. I have a feeling those 2 are gonna die. Unlike the little girl and I, they came here via the normal route, through Kamifuji Yoshi, and therefore weren't considered a bad omen or whatever. Still, even normal outsiders put people on edge here. Through this talk, I also got some details about the area itself. Nice. So this is the normal route. Mountain Road. Here's the river, so you came this way. Where Dad is supposed to come from. Okay. Yasumizo was a settlement part of an autonomous region called Fujiyoshi Village, or simply Fujiyoshi. So Kami Fujiyoshi and Fujiyoshi, okay. It also been on the map I'd shown at the store. Fujiyoshi was split into 2 areas. Yasumizo and Kamifujiyoshi. They were separated by a mountain. Going to Kamifujiyoshi took about an hour by foot or 20 minutes by car on the winding but paved road. Side note, the school the students went to was in Kamifujiyoshi. These 2 settlements had ties so strong that they shared custom and culture. Chiemi said the local seasonal events were quite unconventional, like the Watanagashi. I asked her to elaborate, but all she would say was that the Yasumizo had a special meaning to Fujiyoshi. She was making me more suspicious than I wanted to be. This conversation wasn't nearly as exciting as the one we had last night. Well, at least I found out she didn't have a boyfriend right now. Very intriguing. It was nearly noon when Takumi came back, ending my waiting in. Side note, the door was fully open the entire time we waited. It was probably Chiami's way of saying that nothing bad was happening here.
バイクってのはおめえもんだな、おやっさん。
去年取ったし仕事じゃねえ。
I really didn't expect him to just carry it here. Like, sure, there were 2 of them, but just how much mass do you have to haul a 200-kilogram piece of metal so easily? The unpaved road and the river made my sweet ride really damn muddy.
どうやってあの崖を上げた？
滑車があんだよ。たまに。
おい、匠。
Oh shit. Alright, so I just accidentally yanked out my headphones, and I know when I do this lots of times, like my recording software stops recording the audio, so I want to make sure it keeps recording that, so I'm going to stop this video right here. So, till next time.